The immeasurable value of the beginner's mind. At 15, I sold my first business for $247,000, and I learned the value of a beginner's mind and how you can use it to scale your business before your 15-year-old out-earns you. I can tell you it was awkward between me and my dad for a while there. Being a beginner can be a tremendous asset in business, and true leaders in every field are masters of pivoting back into their beginner's mind. Let me show you why right now. Hi everyone, Steve Little here, the activist capitalist. At the age of 13, my entrepreneurial journey began. My dad got tired of me loafing around the house one summer day, and so he offered me $8 to go outside and cut the grass. So I'm out there pushing the lawnmower around for about 10 minutes, and I'm thinking, this is no fun. I'd rather be playing. But I did still want the money. So I decided to see if my next door neighbor's kid would cut the grass for me for $5. He said yes and cuts the grass for me. When all was said and done, I'd helped my dad out with the yard work and saved him some time. I'd helped out the kid next door, making him $5. And I made $3 for myself with about 10 minutes of effort. Wow, that's a good day's work. Maybe I can do that again. Maybe we can get our neighbors to pay me to have someone else cut their lawn too. And so the next day, I set out to knock on doors and offer my lawn grooming service and recruit my employees. By the end of the summer, I was responsible for maintaining over 120 lawns. Speaking of the end of summer, I lived in Pennsylvania where the grass stops growing around August. One day I had 5 cancellations and I thought, I'm losing a lot of business here. But I didn't want to close up shop until spring. I didn't want my employees to lose their jobs. I didn't want to stop making my customers happy, and I didn't want to stop making money. I don't know how I came up with it at such a young age with zero experience, but I had an idea, a flash of insight which turned out to be brilliant. What if I expanded to offer a broader number of services, like raking leaves in the fall and after-storm cleanup or snow shoveling in the winter? What if I offered a year-round service contract for one flat monthly or annual rate? I drew up the details, got on the phone with my customers, and on that day alone, I had about 10 people agree to that contract. By the end of the first week, all but 2 had agreed in the service. I no longer needed to worry about making enough money to pay my guys. My customers were happy and competent in my work, and their lawns looked great all year round. One day, my dad came home and announced that he'd been promoted and we were going to be moving. But Dad, what about my business? Now at this point, my dad knew I was cutting grass, but he had no idea that I'd expanded that service into an entire annual operation, recurring revenue servicing over 100 customers. My dad said, I'm sure the neighbors will understand that you're moving and can't cut their grass anymore, son. Up until that point, I'd kept my little venture to myself. I guess I didn't realize that what I had was so special. I tell my dad, but what about my employees and all my equipment? At that point, I'd accumulated 30-some lawnmowers. My dad looks at me shocked and says, you're what now? I ran upstairs and grabbed my blue notebook that I'd labeled Steve's Big Book of Business. And within a minute of flipping through it, my father realized that I'd been very, very busy. At the age of 15, I'd sold my first company for almost $250,000. That was in the early 70s. In today's economy, adjusting for inflation over time, that would be a lot of money. I was a true beginner. Well, at 15, we're pretty much beginners at everything, right? I don't think anyone can argue that. I hadn't even had my first kiss yet. What I didn't realize then, and what was impossible for me to articulate, was that I was learning what really drives the value of a business. And while I couldn't have articulated it that way at the time, it's a lesson that has stayed with me the remainder of my life. Knowing what drives the value of a business is the key to building a super successful enterprise and a super valuable asset. Since then, I've started and led 6 startups of my own, all of which have had 9-figure exits, and created high return successes for dozens of more venture-backed companies. And yeah, I got the first kiss too. I'm now considered a leader in the field of entrepreneurship, mergers and acquisitions, and venture investing. A leader is a title I've earned, and I take it very seriously. I believe being considered a leader is a huge responsibility. It means that you possess a knowledge, a capacity for effectively sharing that knowledge, and for drawing the roadmap for others to activate that knowledge for their own goals to better the world in their own way. A marker of an activated leader is lighting the way for future leaders who operate on the principle that improving people's lives is a value driver. The people who do that are the people I consider activated leaders. We need more of them. We need you to be one of them. Isn't the leading of others to more successful, rewarding, and generous lives the ultimate power that we wield as business owners, inventors, and big thinkers? The ability to have a positive impact on people's lives? When your definition of success is not just the ability to contribute goodness to humanity, but also to catalyze and lead others to do the same, then there's always a multiplying effect, ample success to go around, and the money will surely follow you. That is my testimony because that is my experience with becoming an activist capitalist. And that is my experience helping the hundreds of companies I've worked with to do just that again and again. Okay now, the ability to pivot from a leader's mind to a beginner's mind is a master skill and is one that is quintessential to massive growth in any industry. Today we're going to discuss how you can add value to your business by developing your ability to harness the power of a beginner's mind. I'm going to provide you with 4 superpowers of a beginner's mind, so you can use this simple principle to increase your company's valuation growth right now. The 4 superpowers of a beginner's mind are objectivity, perspective of wonder, embracing and assistance, new eyes. When stepping back into the role of expert, one may be surprised at how often I find necessary to reference back to my first experience as a true beginner. Anytime I feel hard-pressed for a much-needed solution, I check back with that 15-year-old kid who was just starting out and could only see the possibilities in all things. I remember when I was 5 years old, hearing the word philanthropist for the first time. I asked my dad what it meant, and when he told me, I thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever heard. The application to give was born in me at that time. As I grew older, acts of kindness became my love language, and I adopted the mantra, see the need, take the lead. When I was a kid, I wasn't doing it for the money. I had an idea, a flash of insight. I knew people didn't want to cut their own grass, rake their own leaves, and shovel snow. And I knew there are a lot of people who were happy to do those chores for a fair wage. I sincerely wanted to help people. And I knew in my gut that people would like what I had to offer. And I wanted to be part of it. I wanted to participate in the world. I wanted to have a positive impact on people's lives. And I remember I was in the very beginning stages of building that company. I'd imagined the faces of strangers smiling, my future customers, people who I didn't even know, the people who I'd helped. That was enough to keep me going. I suppose being an activist capitalist came naturally to me in the sense that my initial driving force was to make a difference in people's lives. What I didn't realize at the time was that focusing on the positive impact I wanted to make in the world instead of focusing on increasing my income was actually adding value to my company each and every day. It's this mindset that led me to what we now know as the Goo-Goo Bucks. Maybe we should call it the Do-Good Goo-Goo Bucks. Let me know in the comments what you think of Do-Good Goo-Goo Bucks. The point is, you can focus on maximizing the positive impact and as a result, do the same for yourself and your company right now. The first of the 4 superpowers of a beginner's mindset is objectivity. Objectivity can be defined as the ability to gather facts and make decisions based solely on facts without being influenced by feelings or past experiences. No one will deny the necessity and the value of having expertise, But sometimes an expert's perspective becomes overcrowded with past experience. When I was a teenager just learning the ropes, I could only rely on the facts. I hadn't been influenced by my past experience yet. A beginner is impartial, less likely to label things as good or bad, important or unimportant. With a beginner's mind, you have the superpower of objectivity. An objective mind is more likely to experience what I call brilliant flashes of insight. Brilliant flashes of insight are like that missing piece of the puzzle that was right in front of you the whole time. Beginners are better at seeing that missing piece because they're seeing it for the first time and aren't biased towards what details matter and what details don't matter. When you encounter something for the first time, you are free of expectations, unhindered by constraints associated with previous failures, more open to taking in experience in the present. You see things that others more experienced in the process and more set in their ways of performing may have unknowingly conditioned themselves to ignore, to write off as irrelevant. Beginners are uncertain about which details they need and which they don't, so they gather up all the pieces just in case. When you have the superpower of objectivity and combine that with your expertise, the value you can create is truly immeasurable. Because who knows what you'll discover? It's an untapped well of information. Now this is where we really activate our minds, because tapping into a beginner's mindset is an exercise in shifting your perspective. This is ground floor for all major changes. When we are ready to get different results, we become willing to do things differently. Like turning to my beginner's mind, because it's a perspective that's already a part of everyone's story. We all begin somewhere. We've all been beginners before, and anytime we try something new, we're beginners again. A beginner's mindset is an excellent tool that's already accessible to you because you already know how to do it. This leads us right to the second of the 4 superpowers of a beginner's mind, perspective of wonder. Looking back at my experience as a teenage entrepreneur, I can see that what I didn't know was just as much a strength as what I do know now. In fact, if I'd known then what I know now, I may have gotten in my own way and not realized the success I did. In my yard maintenance business, I'd encountered some hang-ups along the way, as new businesses often do. And I wound up working way harder than I would have ever imagined. But here's the thing. At the time, the hard parts didn't seem that hard. I had nothing to compare it to. I didn't realize how many problems I was encountering because I didn't view them as problems. It felt normal to be uncertain because I was a beginner. I was in discovery mode. I viewed my uncertainty from a perspective of wonder. And here's what every expert knows that the rest of the world wouldn't expect. Experts feel uncertain a lot. It feels okay to be uncertain when you're a beginner. But when you're an expert, uncertainty can feel like a ticking time bomb. Uncertainty is actually just another one of those unavoidable and perfectly natural states of being that everyone passes in and out of throughout their lives. But when you're an expert in your field and the cornerstone of an entire company, uncertainty can bear down on you and like the weight of the world. Beginners experience uncertainty as though it were a natural part of the process through a perspective of wonder. Uncertainty shines a light on where our focus needs to be, and for a beginner, this is an exciting clue to uncovering something new. A beginner's mind is an enthusiastic mind. A beginner's mindset will bulletproof your enthusiasm against all uncertainty. That's why a perspective of wonder is a superpower. The next superpower is embracing assistance. Now this may seem an unlikely superpower. As an expert, asking for help doesn't always come naturally or easily. The beginner's mind exists unapologetically and peacefully, even in the realm of I don't know. Being comfortable with uncertainty is a master skill. As we discussed before, it involves great trust that more will be revealed and great confidence that when the solution reveals itself, you'll be able to recognize it. Reaching out to others who are willing and able to offer their experience brings us strength and confidence when braving new territory, which is exactly what we're doing anytime we decide we want to see new results. The experience, strength, and expertise of others who came before us can bring us stillness in the storm, regardless of whether our business is already established or not. Nothing great in business was ever accomplished alone, and true beginners give themselves permission to ask for help, advice, and outside opinions. Leaders with a beginner's mind surround themselves with a team who knows more than they do about a variety of aspects, so everyone is an expert and a beginner. In this type of environment, everyone knows they can turn to another for individual expertise, and everyone is constantly learning. Embracing assistance is a superpower because continuing to seek the knowledge of others means continuous expansion of our expertise. Finally, the last of the 4 superpowers of the beginner's mind is having new eyes. Have you ever looked for something everywhere only to have it discovered immediately by someone else in the exact same spot you've already checked 3 times? This selective blindness is a bit of a phenomenon. True beginners are seeing everything with new eyes all the time. They haven't developed their blind spots yet. Established leaders who are adept at pivoting between beginner and master call upon this superpower to review complex challenges with simple, unbiased eyes. You never know how many opportunities to increase your company's value you may have overlooked. Look again with new eyes. Whether you're a leader reigniting your inner beginner to win big, or you're a true beginner in your field, I want you to make a list of every question you have about how to grow the value of your business. Where do you feel the creeping uncertainty? Remember, everyone has blind spots. Everyone. The difference between us and everyone else is we don't run from our blind spots. We seek them out with the light inside us that never fades, with our big why, our passion, our purpose to make the world a better place by reducing suffering through the expressions of our company. The list can shed light into the areas that you feel uncertain about and give way to brilliant flashes of insight. Possible questions you may have include, who are my ideal customers? What is the difference between value and profit? How do I increase the value of my business? What is an exit strategy and how do I make one? How can I get more positive energy and creativity from my team? When you have your list, run it through your 4 superpowers. Objectivity. Look at the situation as though it was the first time, in a curious and emotionally unattached way. Simply observe it. Make note of small details. Gather the facts. It may not hold the entire solution, but you never know what bit of information can spark a sudden flash of brilliance that provides a missing puzzle piece. Perspective of wonder. Ask yourself, how can I make this fun? In what ways do I want to grow from having faced this unknown? What about this situation can I express gratitude for? Cultivate enthusiasm for being presented with opportunities to discover new information. Embracing assistance. Ask for help. Release surveys. Seek out a mentor's experience. Read the origin stories of those who have risen to success, not only in your specific industry, but in other industries as well. You're always welcome to contact us at Zero Limits Ventures, and I encourage you to review my educational videos further. Watching this video is already putting the art of beginner's mind into practice. New eyes. To access this superpower, I recommend that you get very still and focus your breath for a couple of minutes. Visualize all the information and details and emotional charges draining out of you like water through a sieve. Continue this meditation until you feel cleaned out, and then start your search for answers with new eyes. New eyes can also mean asking someone else to look with you and tell you what they see. This is why guys like me exist. I look at your business, at your growth, at your value drivers with new eyes to see where you can increase your current value drivers and where you can activate ones that you've missed along the way. Return to your raw, natural talent. Get excited about what you don't know yet. A beginner's mind is a leader's master skill. There will always be more to learn, and you already have everything you need to access these superpowers from where you are right now. Suzuki Roshi, renowned author of the best-selling book Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, said, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in the expert's, there are few." Thank you, my fellow leaders and beginners alike, for joining me today. Knowing what I know now, I can tell you that as a kid, the cards were stacked against me. Today, I'm certain that the main reason I was able to start my own company at 13 and sell it at 15 was because I simply did not know that I couldn't. For a beginner's mind, there is no end of the road. Every obstacle is just another stepping stone towards success. I'll close with this. When you measure your success by how many lives you can improve along the way, you'll always have a purpose and a place to go. That's the way of the activist capitalist.